Hello and Assalamualaikum to all of you. This is Dr. Aisha. In this video, basically related to Chapter 7, Pricing Decision and Cost Management. Alright, now if we look at just based on this title, we can understand that in this topic, the main aim of this topic is basically for us to look at how price been determined by the company, what kind of mechanism that can be used by the organization for them to set the price, and costing management, because price is very, very important for firms to set the right or the correct price, because if the price is too high or too low, basically will give an influence towards the sales and the demand from the customers. Alright, why pricing decision is basically important? Why for the company to set the specific or the correct price is important? This is because if the price is too high, basically customers will go to the competitors. Right? So if the price is too high, customer will not come to us. If the price is too low, company will not be able to cover the cost of making the products. So if the company set the price too high, the risk is that the customers will go to the competitors. And if we set the price to be too low, because we want to be, like for example, we want to show that we can offer lower price compared to our competitors, then at the end of the day, the company will not make any profits, because even for example, variable cost also will not be able to cover for that. So it also seems that, at the end of the day, the effort that has been put in to produce the product seems to be wasted. Alright, so what can be considered as the major factors that affects pricing decisions? Number one is the customers. Okay, in order for a company to set the correct or the right price, they also have to understand their customers. Customers influence price through their effects on the demand for a product or service based on factors such as product features and quality. So customers, they have power in the sense that we really need to look at the demand for that particular product or service, and the customers will judge the product based on the features as well as the quality. If the quality is good, if the quality is something that achieves the high-end style, or for example, only then there will be a demand for that particular product or service. Besides of looking at the customers, the organization also have to look at their competitors, and they also have to see what price that has been set by the competitors, and they also have to look at the technologies or the plant capacities or the operating strategies that has been used by competitors. For example, let's say they are using very old machine and the production also low, and the cost is also high because of possibly old machine, they don't have a much technology that consider electricity efficiency, for example. So if, for example, the competitors change or use the more highly technological machine, then obviously the cost of the production might be lower, because normally when it comes to the technology, it helps to reduce the cost as well as it will increase the efficiency. Therefore, once we want to set the price, we also have to know what kind of technology that has been used by the competitors, as well as the price that has been set by the competitors. Other factors includes cost. And this is really influence price because it affects supply, in the sense that the lower the cost of producing a product, the greater the quantity a firm is willing to supply. Alright, let's see, the company is producing a very expensive handbags, for example, very exclusive handbags with a diamond, I don't know what kind of jewelry that they can include it, how to make the bags more exclusive or even prettier, for example. So they use like some kind of gold as a part of the ornaments, things like that. So given that this bag is very costly, very expensive, because it's used a lots of diamonds and gold, for example. So obviously, the quantity that they are able to produce is also very limited. Okay, so why? Because it is costly for firms to produce such expensive things. For example, if you look at the case of IKEA, IKEA always try to sell products at 30% to 50% lower than the market price, because they want to produce more products. You know, if the cost of producing the product is low, then they will be able to produce large quantity of that particular products, and they can sell at a cheap price as well. Alright, so for IKEA, for example, unlike any other furniture companies where they sell the product readily. However, for IKEA, they always sell the product unassembled. It is a DIY process where the customers, once they got the product, they have to, assemble by themselves. So this unassembled product actually reduce the cost very, very much, because in terms of transportation, it helps a lot to reduce the cost, and this will help them to reduce the cost of the production, and they will be able to charge low price compared to the market, and they also will be able to sell large quantity to the whole part of the world and make lots of profits by selling, cheap products actually in their company. Alright, costing and pricing for the long run and for the short run. So pricing decision also is subject to specific time frames. Let's say in short run, obviously less than a year, and long run, normally obviously more than a year. And in short run pricing decision, they have a horizon of less than 1 year and include decisions such as pricing a one-time only special order. They want to adjust the product's mix and output volume in competitive market. This is a part of the short-term decision related to the pricing. Long-term pricing is a strategic decision to build long-run relationship with the customers based on stable and predictable prices. In long run, the price is important for us to give a stable price to the customers, for us to maintain long-term relationship with them. Alright, so if the price is jumping down, up and down, and it's not stable, so it is something unpredictable, and the suppliers or the customers also will not be happy with our service. So that's why we need something like a very constant price to maintain a long-term relationship with our customers. Alright, in order for the company to come up with a good pricing, it is very important for them to allocate the cost as accurate as they can. So what does it mean by cost allocation? Cost allocation, actually in the past you already learned about this, where the cost, the indirect cost, will be allocated to the products. Let's say the company produce product A, B, and C. So this indirect cost, such as overhead, for example, this cost need to be allocated to the product that has been produced by the company in a correct way. So this is what basically means, because if they are able to allocate the products accurately to each of the products that they produce, then they will also be able to charge the price at a reasonable way. Alright, so recall that indirect costs of a particular cost objects are costs that are related to the cost object but cannot be traced to it in an economically cost-effective way. Certain costs, for example, as I said before, is hard to allocate to the products directly. Certain costs, for example, like direct material and direct labor, or certain costs that is very direct to the products, we can easily trace that. However, certain costs that is hard for us to identify the specific amount for us to charge on the specific products, then we have to do this allocation as best as we can. These costs often comprise a large percentage of the overall cost assigned to the cost object. Because why? Because it comprises of many things like electricity, for example, like telephone bills, for example. So it is difficult to charge based on the specific item in the company, but it actually play or important roles in the organization. Cost allocation and product profitability analysis affects the products promoted by the company. To increase profits, managers focus on high margin products. And here is basically the purpose of cost allocation, why company have to do the cost allocation process, because they want to provide information for economic decision to decide on the selling price. We want to set the selling price. So that's why we need to do this cost allocation correctly. To decide whether to add or a new product's features, for example, we want to add new characteristic, new special features to the product, for example. To motivate managers and employees, in the sense that we want to encourage the design of the products that are simpler to manufacture or less costly to service. So this cost allocation, for example, in IKEA, they really apply this. Alright, so that's why the designer of the furniture in IKEA, they're all very highly motivated to produce the products that, you know, for example, it actually will just charge a low cost but can be sold to a large market and make a lots of profits. And it's also to encourage a sales representative to emphasize high margin products or service, because if the price is low, because since we are able to identify correctly the costs that need to be allocated to each products, then the cost might be reasonably fair or reasonably low, and this will also increase the sales representative motivation to sell these high margin products to the customers. Next is to justify costs or to compute reimbursement amount. So that's why we need to know this cost, because to cost products at a fair price often required by law and also government contract. For example, if they want to supply to the government, it's also a part of government requirement that the price should be reasonable. Okay, especially on certain products that's controlled products, you know, like rice, for example, oil, certain daily use products or necessary products that has been used by the market, for example. As well as to compute reimbursement for a consulting firm based on a percentage of the cost saving resulting from the implementation of its recommendation. Okay, so sometimes company, they don't have a specific capacity, they don't have specific knowledge on how to set the price. Therefore, they will ask for outsiders, you know, like the consulting firm, to help them to set the best price for each of the products. And these consulting firms, they will calculate, you know, how much that the price can be saved, okay, in terms of pricing, how much the cost that can be reduced by using their recommendation. So normally they will offer recommendation that certain process need to be cut, for example, certain items or certain material need to be used, and all of these are actually a part of the recommendation given by the consultant. And by using their knowledge or recommendation given by the consultant, the company can make a saving or the cost saving out of this. And this is also important for us, because as a company, they have to pay the reimbursement, they have to pay some honorarium, they have to pay something, you know, some kind of cost or allowance for this kind of service. Therefore, if they know how much that the cost saving that they can make, therefore they will be able to pay certain amount of money to them, to the consultant. other reason why we need to do the cost allocation is to measure income and asset, given that the cost of inventories, we need to report that in our balance sheet, and we also have to report some part of it in the income statement. So it is basically for the external parties viewing. So this is also a part of other things that we need to consider why we need to do cost allocation. And it is also for the purpose of cost inventories for reporting to tax authorities, because once we calculate the cost of inventories, in the case if we want to sell the inventory, for example, then the assets, for example, sometimes it's subject to tax. It depends on whether we make a profit or loss out of the disposal, and it will be charged to the authority if we make profit. So this is also one of the purpose why we basically need to allocate or need to do cost allocation correctly. Okay, now we look at how basically managers set the price in long run. There are two ways. Number one is market based, and number two is cost based. This is quite straightforward. Market based, obviously, once we want to set the price, we look at the market price. We look at what our customers want and how competitors will react to what we do. What price should we charge? So it's simply just looking at the markets. What will be the price that the customer is willing to pay? Second is about the cost-based approach, where we determine the price based on the cost that has been incurred for us to produce this product. So what price should we charge that will recoup all costs and achieve a target return on the investment? So the second method is where we have to calculate all the related costs, and then we identify how many percentages of the markup that we want to make out of the products. Alright, before we choose whether we want to use market-based approach or cost-based approach, there are other things that managers or management accountant have to think or have to put into consideration. Number one, lower cost competitors continually will restrain prices. So for example, our competitors, they keep trying to reduce the cost. Obviously it will also affect our price, given that it seems that we also have to struggle to reduce the price in order to be comparable with the competitor. Number two, products have shorter lives, for example, which leave companies less time, an opportunity to recover from pricing mistakes, loss of market shares, and loss of profitability. We have to understand that certain products, it has a long life. However, certain products we cannot retain for so long because it reach expiry date in a short period, for example. So for the products which have a shorter life, this will, the timing for the companies to recover from pricing mistakes is difficult, because we cannot get lots of profit, or in case, for example, the business already make mistake in identifying the specific price, it is difficult for them to recover from that, because the products, it cannot be hold for long time. All right. Number three, the customers are knowledgeable because they have easy access to price and information online, and they have lots of websites that they can have a look to check whether the price that we offer is competitive or not. So these are among other things we have to consider before we identify the price. It's either whether we want to choose cost-based or market-based. This is among the other things that we have to think about. Alright, now we look at the market-based approach. It is related to the target costing and target pricing, because market-based, it starts with the target price. We identify the price, which is the estimated price for a product or service that potential customers are actually willing to pay. The target price is estimated based on understanding of the customer's perceived value for a product or service and how competitors will price competing products or service. So we look at the, how much actually customers willing to pay, and we just set the price just based on that. And secondly, we can also benchmark our competitors, how much our competitors charge for that particular products or service. Okay, now we look at the steps in developing target prices and target costs. Number one, we have to develop a products that satisfies the need of the potential customers. Okay, so as long as the products meets the demand or the taste of the customers, it will make them happy to pay, right? So that's why certain products are, basically in terms of price is quite unreasonable, but still customers willing to pay because they are very happy or satisfied with the products. Number two, after they develop the products, number two, just choose the target price. All right, choose the target price, that what would be the price that customer willing to pay. Derive a target cost per unit by subtracting target operating income per unit from the target price. Once we identify the target price, then we also have to identify the target cost. But it starts with the target price first. And after that, we have to perform value engineering to achieve target cost. And this value engineering, which includes where we have to identify any value-added activities and non-value-added activities, and we also have to eliminate non-value-added activities from the process, because non-value-added activities will not increase any value to the products that we produce. Alright, now we look at a little bit about value engineering terminology. This is some of the theoretical part in this chapter basically. Value engineering is a systematic evaluation of all aspects of the value chain, the value chain in the production of the products, with the objective of reducing costs and achieving a quality level that satisfies customers. Value engineering entails improvements in product designs, changes in material specification and modification in the process method. And to implement value engineering, managers must distinguish value-added activities and costs from non-value-added activities and costs. Value-added cost is a cost that, if eliminated, it will reduce the actual or perceived value or utility of the customer's experience from using the products. Non-value-added costs are costs that are, if eliminated, will not give an influence, will not affect the utility or the usefulness from the product. So that's why managers, they have to identify which actually activities is value added and what kind of activities they are non-value added, and non-value added activities must be deleted from the process in order to reduce costs as well as to improve the perceived value of that particular products basically. Other terminology that managers have to consider is about the cost incurrence. It is where it describes when a resource is consumed or benefit forgone to meet a specific objective. This is when the cost will be incurred. Alright. Next is lock-in costs or design-in costs, that are costs that have not yet been incurred but will be incurred in the future based on decision that have been made. Alright. And the best opportunity to manage costs is before they are locked in. So lock-in cost is design-in cost, the cost that is not yet happened but it will be happen in the future, and the decision on that already been made. So that's why once we want to make decision, make sure we do that before the costs are locked in. Okay, now we look at the second method for pricing, that is a cost base or cost plus. Is similar. Okay, instead of using the market-based approach for long-run pricing decision, managers sometimes use a cost-based approach. The general formula for setting a cost-based selling price: add a markups component to the cost. Okay, it's very easy, like what we always do. We calculate the cost and then we add with the markup. Okay, it's only starting point in the price setting process, and markup is somewhat flexible, and you know, it can be like 5%, it can be 10%, up to the company. And it's also, you know, you have to look at the competitors as well, in terms of actually what the price, so that you can, you know, make sure that the markup is not too high or too low. Because markup is added, cost-based pricing is often called as cost plus pricing. So it's, you know, whether you seen it as cost-based or cost plus, both are actually referring to the same thing. Alright, because it talks about cost plus with the markup that you want to make out of the products. Cost plus pricing can be determined using several ways. Alright, sometimes the cost plus, the basis that they use sometimes is variable manufacturing costs, sometimes just variable costs, sometimes manufacturing costs, and most of the time obviously the full cost. The full cost is where you consider both variable costs and fixed costs, okay, in the costing calculation of the cost of the products. It is a common business practice where managers use full cost for their cost-based decision, because it allows for full recovery of all costs of the products. It allows for price stability, means that the price, you know, that you set is quite stable. It's not that high sometimes or low sometimes, so it is much more reasonable, and it is simple approach and easy to understand, and you know, it cover all of the related costs in the products. If, for example, you just consider variable cost, for example, then it is not logical, because in future, in production of the products, obviously there's also an element of fixed cost that you need to consider. Alright, now we look at the question 1. Bombo Incorporation is a small distributor of mechanical pencil. Bombo identifies its 3 major activities and cost pools as ordering, okay, receiving and storage and shipping. And it reports the following details for 2016. Alright, so they have an activity and a cost driver, quantity of cost driver, and cost per unit of cost driver. So for activity, placing and paying for orders for pencil, receiving and storage, shipping of pencil packs to retailer. Cost driver comprise of number of orders, loads moved, and number of shipment. Quantity of cost drivers 500, 4,000, 1,500, and cost per unit of cost driver are 100 per order, 60 per load, and 80 per shipment. For 2016, Bombo buys 250,000 pencil packs at an average cost of $6 per pack, and sell them to retailers at an average price of $6 per pack. Assume Bombo has no fixed costs and no inventories. Calculate Bombo's operating income for 2016. Okay, this is very straightforward and very easy to do. Basically, first of all, we have to calculate the revenue. Revenue is 8 because it sells to the retailer at the average price of 8 per pack, times with 250,000 of the pencil packs. So we get this figure. Okay, this is for 250,000 packs. But at the same time, you also have to calculate the per unit. Alright, so just divide this with 250,000 so we can get the price per unit revenue here. Next is the purchase cost of the packs. So we can see from this information, Bombo buys this amount at the average cost of 6 per pack. So purchase cost 6 times with 250,000, then this is the total for 250,000, and divide with 250,000, we can get here the per unit. Ordering cost 100 times with 500, this is an ordering cost, okay, and 100 per order times with 500, that is the quantity of the cost driver. Okay, so 100 times 500, then we can get here 50,000. Divide with 250,000, 0.20. Receiving and storage, similar. This is 60 per load times with 4,000. Okay, we can get here 240,000, and this is per unit. Divide with 250,000. Shipping 80 per shipment times with 1,500, so we can get here 120,000. This is the per unit figure after we divide with 250,000. So the total cost, which includes the purchase cost, etc., etc., are 1.910000, and the per unit cost is 0.64. And you have to minus this revenues, minus with this, then we can get the operating income of 90,000, and per unit operating income per unit is 0.36. Alright, now we look at question 2. Question 2 basically similar to question 1, but there are some other information that has been provided in question 2. So this is actually the same thing as what I read to you before as in the question 1. Now we look at the what actually different in this question 2. For 2016, Bombo buys 250,000 pencil packs at an average cost of 6 per pack and sell them to retailers at an average price of 8 per pack. Assume Bombo has no fixed costs and no inventories. Okay, now the new information come. For 2017, retailers demanding 5% discount of the 2016 price. Bombo suppliers are only willing to give 4% discount. Bombo expects to sell the same quantity on the pencil packs in 2017 as it did in 2016. So means that once Bombo want to sell, the customers are demanding 5% discount, but at the same time, suppliers only willing to give 4% discount to Bombo. If all other cost and cost driver information remain the same, by how much must Bombo reduce its total cost and cost per unit if it is to earn the same target operating income in 2017 as it earned in 2016, and thereby earn its required rate of return on investment? So, as for this, what does it mean actually? Is that if all other cost and cost driver information remain the same, by how much must Bombo reduce its total cost? We have to calculate how much Bombo have to reduce the cost if Bombo want to get this figure 90,000. The operating income that is in 2006 means that in 2017 they also want to get 90,000 of the operating income. So if this is the target of the operating income, then how much of the cost that Bombo have to reduce? Okay, so as for the solution for this, we have to check on the price that we need to give to retailers in 2017. Okay, so for retailers, it seems that we can only sell for 7.60. Okay, in the past we sell for 8 ringgit to our customers, to our retailers, but for 2017, because they asked for 5% discount, so 5%, 95% times with 8, 7.60. Okay, this is after we consider that retailers or customers demand 5% discount. So this is the new price that we can sell. In regards to the cost that we need to pay to the supplier, okay, because the supplier is willing to give 4% discount, so now the percentage is 96 times with 6 dollar of the cost. So this is the price that we can get from our supplier. So this is the new price that we have to take into our calculation for operating income. Alright, so basically all other things in this calculation are basically similar, except for the revenue and the purchase cost. Because the revenue, we use the new price that is 7.6 after we consider the 5% discount that we will give to the retailers. Okay, and the purchase cost of the pack is 5.76. This is the new price after we consider the 4% of the discount that we can get from the supplier. Alright, so this calculation are basically per unit. As I already explained to you before, you have to divide this figure with 250,000 to get this figure per unit, and all other things remain the same as in the first question. So if we look at this calculation, you can see that the total cost is 1850000, while the revenue is 1900000, and if we minus this with this, we can get the operating income is just 50,000. Okay, so by after considering the new price for revenues and the cost, the total operating income that Bombo can get in 2017 is just 50,000, and this is the total cost per unit, 7.40, and this is the operating income per unit, that is 0.20. Alright, now the point is Bombo wants to make sure that 2017 also they can get 90,000 similar to 2016. Okay, as we can look at the question 1 before, this is the 2016 for question 1, operating income is 90,000. So if Bombo don't want this 50,000 but Bombo want this 90,000, so how much of the cost that that Bombo have to reduce? Bombo we need to reduce its cost by 40,000 obviously. Okay, because if they want to get 90,000, which means they have to add this more with 40,000, which means the cost here should be reduced by another 40,000. Only then they can get the total operating income of 90,000. Alright, so Bombo need to reduce its total cost by 40,000 or 0.16 per unit. Okay, we divide 40,000 with 250,000, so we can get 0.16 per unit. They have to reduce the cost if they want to get 90,000 of the operating income for the year 2017. Okay, therefore the total target cost, alright, the total target cost that Bimbo have to think further, the total target cost that Bimbo have to achieve is 1810000. Right, that is where we have to minus the total cost, current total cost with 40,000. Okay, cost that we have to remove in order to achieve 90,000 of the profits. Okay, so the new total target cost is 1810000, and the target cost per unit is 7.24. Okay, given that currently the total cost is 7.40. Alright, we have to minus with the 0.16. That is the cost that Bombo have to save. Alright, and the calculation is here, 40,000 that Bombo have to save, divide with 250,000. So alright, the new target cost for Bombo is 7.24. So as for this question, the total target cost that Bombo have to achieve is 1810000, and the target cost per unit is 7.24. Okay, now we look at question 3. Question 3 is a little bit different than question 1 and 2, so we are going to read them again. Bombo Incorporation is a small distributor of mechanical pencil. Bombo identifies its 3 major activities and cost pools as ordering, receiving, and storage, and shipping, and it reports the following details for 2017. So they will have activity, cost driver, quantity of the cost driver per unit of the cost driver. cost per unit of the cost driver. So number of orders, loads moved, and number of shipment for each of the activities. The quantity is 400 and the cost per unit is 75. The quantity cost driver for receiving and storage is 3,550 per load for the cost per unit of the cost driver. Number of shipment, the quantity of cost driver is 1,500 and the price is 80 per shipment. Okay, for 2017, Bombo buys 250,000 pencil packs at an average cost of 5.76 per packs. Bombo plans to use cost plus pricing. Calculate the prospective selling price if Bombo mark up the purchase cost of the pencil pack by 33% and if Bombo mark up the full cost of the pencil pack by 7%. Okay, so you have to remember what is the purchase cost. Purchase cost is obviously this cost. Pencil pack at an average cost is 5.76. This is the purchase cost of the pencil. And what is the full cost? Full cost is where they consider all the variable costs and fixed costs that has been incurred in the production of the products. Okay, so here is the solution for the problem. Now we have to calculate the total cost for 250,000 packs and the cost per pack using Bambos, because this is based on the activity, so we have to calculate based on the activity as well as the purchase cost. Alright, so for calculation of this cost, obviously the purchase cost is also a part of the cost, very important cost. This is the variable cost. Alright, so purchase cost of the packs 5.76 times with 250,000, then we can get this figure for 250,000 units, and per units we have to divide this with 250,000. Ordering cost 75 times 400. Alright, 75 times 400, that is for ordering costs. For receiving and storage 50 times 3,500. For shipment 80 times with 1,500. So we already can get this figure and this figure and this figure, and for this item, that is the per unit, we have to divide this with 250,000. Alright, so now the total cost is this 1765000. The total cost per unit is 7.06. Alright, this is the full cost. Okay, because it's considered the cost of purchasing as well as the cost of other related costs. Okay, indirect costs in that has been used in the production of this pencil. Okay, so this is the full cost and this is the total cost incurred in the production of the products. Alright, now we are going to calculate the price. We already know that the information asks us to calculate the prospective price for purchase cost of the pencil pack by 33% and full cost, and they mark up with 7%. So the purchase cost, yes, the cost is 5.76. This is the purchase cost that I already tell you before here. This is the purchase cost of 5.76. Markup is 33%. So 33% times with 5.76, we can get this figure. Okay, and this we add with this, so we can get the selling price for purchase cost is 7.66. For the full cost, this is the full cost because we consider the purchasing price plus the ordering cost, other indirect cost, related costs. So if in the questions they have fixed costs, also you have to include the fixed cost. As if they have any other variable cost, they also have to include that variable cost. So that is actually the full cost. Okay, so the full cost in this case is 7.06. Markup is 7%, so 7% times with this, we can get this markup component, and this we add with this, so we can get the price here 7.55. So this is the price, okay, if we use purchase cost, and this is the price when we use full cost. Alright, so it seems that in hand we already have this figure, and other than that, okay, at this point of time we already know that the price, the prospective price after we consider the markup is 7.66 and 7.55, which is not that different. You know, it is quite close each other. So the final selling price will be adjusted after taking into account customer and competitor price or benchmark with the competitor price for us to identify, you know, as in this case we're not sure, for example, whether we want to take 7.66 or 7.55. We have to consider other factors like customers as well as the competitors, what is their price. So after that, we have to make an adjustment out of this price, and that is going to be the price that we can use for the production of this pencil.